Don't look now, but your New England Patriots are making moves to bolster their offensive line production in 2023. Stick around. You're about to be locked into the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful. Thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage and also your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On Patriots is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So smash that subscribe button, download, subscribe to, follow Locked On Patriots wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Mike Debate, and I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country of Sports Illustrated. Reach out to me and let me know what's on your mind on Twitter at MDABATENFL. And while you're out there showing some love to Twitterverse, please be sure to follow the Locked On Patriots account as well at LO_Patriots. Pats fans, your New England Patriots are making moves to bolster their offensive line, but they did make a move this week that did weaken them a little bit at tight end. It's Wednesday, so you know what that means. A visit from the Countess of Claz herself, the illustrious Clare ClazzyClare Cooper, will be joining me here in just a moment, and we'll talk some of that tight endage void that the Patriots will feel as the result of Jonnu Smith being traded to the Atlanta Falcons. Are they better off filling it by using the draft, going free agency? And we'll also discuss who we have our sharp eye on as potential replacements for Jonnu's services. But first, folks, the news of the day here on Wednesday, March 15th, is the offensive line. Patriots making a pair of moves to try to help bolster their production in one of the most needy positional groups on the roster, and that is the offensive line. Patriots obviously not done adding to their depth at tackle because one of the latest players added to the mix is Riley Reiff, an 11-year veteran, most recently of the Chicago Bears. Diana Rossini of ESPN reporting on Wednesday morning that the Patriots are expected to sign him in free agency when everything becomes official on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Patriots looking like they got this as a value move. The contract has a base value of $5 million, and the Patriots gained someone with a tremendous amount of experience. I know 11 years, a long time to be in the league, kind of an Indiana Jones situation going on here. It's not the years, honey. It's the mileage. But at the same time, this is a guy that has a tremendous amount of depth knowledge, tremendous amount of experience, and he can play. He can still play at an elite and high level in this league. Well, maybe elite's a little strong of a word, but I think he can still play at a very high level, and he's definitely starting capability right out of the gate. A lot of pedigree with Riley Reiff, folks. Started here, first round draft pick by the Detroit Lions in 2012. Primarily played at the left tackle position. Started 70 games for the club over the 5-year span that he was with the Lions. Stayed in the division, moved north to Minnesota, and became the Vikings tackle. Solid starting level play that he provided for them at left tackle for 4 years. Leaves, joins the Cincinnati Bengals briefly, and then, of course, last year, most recently with the Chicago Bears. All in all, this guy's got a tremendous resume, a lot of games under his belt, 168 regular season and playoff games, 154 of them he started. Most recently, he was the Bears' right tackle down the stretch in 2022. That's why positional versatility really comes up big here. Could be a swing option with Riley because of the fact that he can play both left and right. The Patriots decide he's their starter, you can always move him over to the left and have Trent Brown come over and play at the right, or they could just keep things the way they are, keep Trent Brown in the right slot and move Riley over to the left slot. But bottom line, he had a solid season last year, started 10 games, surrendering 3 sacks, 15 additional quarterback pressures. Not great stats, but not terrible stats either. And it definitely proves that the Patriots are looking for some sizable additions to this offensive tackle group. Now, New England does still have a lot of work to do, but signing Riley Reiff, I think, is a very good move for them in terms of adding experience, in terms of adding a player that can provide protection, and someone that is versatile enough to play multiple positions. Patriots love their versatility. They're going to get it in this guy. And that also means that the New England Patriots had other moves to make. And restricted free agent Yodny Kajust is back in the fold. Well, at least back temporarily. Not necessarily a tremendous vote of confidence for Yodny, but the Patriots did place an original round tender on Yodny, meaning that if, in fact, another team signs him to an offer sheet, Patriots will receive a third round pick back. So the Patriots right now, that's, of course, assuming that they don't match it, folks. Big distinction there. But Yodny's coming back was a little bit of a surprise. He struggled through much of the 2023 season. Connor McDermott replaced him as the swing option, even the starting option down the stretch. But there's an awful lot of talent here, and the Patriots are definitely seeing something under the radar that's not showing up in the game stat sheet, that's not showing up in highlights. And you know the old adage about offensive linemen, and they even say this about defensive linemen too. If you're not seeing them pop up in highlights, they're doing their job. They're making sure that nothing is wrong. And Kajust, I think, is someone that showed up in those highlights for the wrong reasons at times. But ultimately, I still think the Patriots believe that there's a lot to extract there. So when you look at the West Virginia product now and Yodny Kajust coming back for another year, it's looking like they will probably at least bring him into camp, keep him around, give him a chance to compete for a spot, and then if not, they can always cut bait with him before the start of the season. And it's really not uncommon to see deals like this even restructured. So don't be a bit surprised if that happens. According to reports, Andrew Callen of the Boston Herald was all over this right from the start. Want to give him a lot of credit here. $2.73 million contract if the Patriots do, in fact, retain Yodny's services for the upcoming season based on the terms of the tender. So, folks, keep a sharp eye on this one. But the addition of Riley Reiff, the bring back of Yodny Kajust, definitely good news for the New England Patriots. Recently signed yesterday, Calvin Anderson, formerly of the Denver Broncos. They're joining a team right now that does have an awful lot of talent on this side of the ball. Trent Brown obviously will, be coming back. David Andrews, there's no question about it. Patriots have a solid group of offensive linemen in place. Michael Waynu, I think, is probably the most talented and the most reliable on all of these guys right now. But there's going to be a lot of competition for the tackle position. Just tackle, basically, folks. Trent Brown, Connor McDermott, Yodny Kajust, Andrew Stuber, and of course Calvin Anderson coming in yesterday. So Patriots stockpiling depth talent. One of these guys will get the start, or two of them, I should say, will get the start. There's enough talent right now to get starts out of both of them, but still think the Patriots might be dipping their toe into the offensive line pool when it comes to the 2023 NFL Draft. They might also be dipping their toe into that pool with tight endage because, as you know, Jonnu Smith is on his way to Atlanta. Patriots have a hole there, and this is an extremely deep tight end class. But does Jonnu's defection to Atlanta mean that the Patriots are looking to dip their toe back into the free agent pool? Folks, I know a lot of toe dipping going on, but we're going to straighten it all out when the Countess of Claz herself joins me here in just a moment on Locked On Patriots. But first, folks, today's episode brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, and it's super easy to use. And then you can bet on everything from the money line to the point scores to the three-pointers drained. Plus, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook betting partner of the NBA. Patriots fans, the trade of Jonnu Smith started the week for the New England Patriots. Free agency is open. The league year officially begins today on March 15th. The Ides of March, friends. But opening up cap space was only part of that. New England Patriots also created a void at the tight end position by trading Jonnu away. And if we're talking tight ends, then it is our honor, our privilege here on the pod to welcome the illustrious Countess of Claz herself, Clare ClazzyClare Cooper of Pat's Propaganda and a host of A Clare Perspective of Patriots podcast, which you can find on FPC Patriots. Countess, as the tight end aficionado of Patriots Nation, the empress of tight endage, what was your reaction to the Jonnu Smith trade when it happened?
See, this is the trouble. You did the intro. As you were doing the intro, I couldn't hide the kind of the sneaky smile that I was trying to, because as you know, absolutely nothing against Jonnu Smith as an individual, as a player. I know he had this exceptional potential, such an athletic guy. Them, the Patriots moving on from him, all it does is indicate to me that they are looking at the draft. They are finally looking to get someone, maybe not first round, because there's still needs that are more significant, and I fully appreciate that. But it kind of gives me that confidence, or at least the sort of excitement, the anticipation that they're going to stock up on this sort of really tight end heavy draft this season, and that has me very excited. So I was never against Jonnu Smith, but I don't know if you remember when they signed Hunter and Jonnu, I was really excited about the Hunter signing, and he was going to be my guy, and that was it. And I was always very much like a Hunter girl sort of thing. I had nothing against Jonnu, very athletic, good tight end. But I was like, now Hunter Henry's my tight end, and that's where I'm going. And now after the 2 years, I can be like, see people, see, I told you so. Hunter Henry was a Patriots tight end. I told you so. I'll refrain from. I think
we all got the picture, no question about it. Look, I was very vocal when the Patriots made these two signings as well. Hunter was the guy that I was definitely higher on. Having covered him with the Chargers, I knew his ability to run routes. I knew that his options in the open field were a little bit greater than what they were going to get out of Jonnu. I was extremely excited to see what Jonnu could bring in the end zone. And in all fairness to Jonnu, I don't necessarily think he was utilized in the proper way. I think Josh McDaniels' offense was a little bit complex for Jonnu to get right off the bat. That's not to say that he can't pick up offenses. That's no knock to Jonnu, but Josh McDaniels runs a different ship. And if you're not able to get it right off the bat, it does take a learning curve to get started. Just as he was starting to get acclimated, Patriots pull the rug out from under him by putting Matt Patricia and Joe Judge in charge of the offense. And I think that really slowed things in terms of his ability. So great, analysis in terms of, in my opinion, Countess, on Jonnu just really being a good player, not in the right fit here in New England. And I think you've tipped your hand. So why don't you illuminate to us why you believe that the New England Patriots are a little better off going toward a deep draft class than necessarily dipping into the tight endage free agent pool, which a couple of days ago, we probably thought the Patriots weren't even going to touch.
See, this is the thing. This is the other thing why I was so excited, and I didn't want it to sound detrimental against the player, because I hope that he's successful in Atlanta, because I know that he is this very athletic tight end, and I hope he has some success, because I always wish that on players anyway. But for me, for a Patriots fan, the excitement was it makes a whole, and hopefully with regards to having Bill O'Brien as a coach, he likes that two tight endage set. Infamous for lighting in the two tight end set. For me, it's like, oh, shiny new toy. And if the draft wasn't as stocked as it was this year, I'd very be in on it's got to be free agency. Let's look at the free agency situation. But now, because of how well stocked the draft seems to be, and how it's really out there as everybody knowing, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah, as we mentioned last week, had said, this is the best tight endage. Tight end. He wouldn't have said tight endage. He'd have said tight end. This is the best tight end class. He should have said tight endage, but he said the best tight end class. He should have. This is the best tight end class in approximately 10 years. And it's like, that's significant. And we were hoping, or I was hoping, and I think some other people were hoping as well, that maybe the Patriots would look into the draft sort of in the later rounds, the later days, that kind of thing. But this gap that Jonnu Smith leaves is sort of the hopes that maybe that's a little bit more of a priority now, that they are going to dip into the more higher caliber of the tight end skill set that that's going to be available in the draft. For me, I can see the necessity of having another veteran, dipping your toe into the free agency market for a tight end. what I think is when you're looking at that, if the Patriots look at that, if they look at the free agency, really you're getting someone, or you're looking to get someone who sort of can be a starter but doesn't really need to be, because you're looking at, I'm hoping you're looking at a more higher caliber draft pick who just needs that little bit of time to settle, sort of thing. Someone who can be pretty much a, you know, initial starter, but you've got that sort of safety net of having a veteran who is good enough to utilize whilst your drafted tight end is finding his feet, because it's renowned for, you know, the tight end position to be a difficult position to be in football, to be something that is, you know, an extensive playbook to learn, particularly in New England, you know, circa Jonnu Smith situation. You know, it's not an easy thing to pick up straight away. So if they look at the free agency situation, I don't think that they shouldn't. I just feel that, you know, myself personally, my fandom opinion is the draft is where the significance is. The tight ends that they're going to pick up in the draft are what we should be looking for. You know, as I said, the sort of the higher caliber, the higher, the earlier round draft picks. I always get those that like all mixed up. So I hope you understand what I mean when I say, because I often say the wrong thing. So I mean earlier, taken in the first couple of days, or to the earlier rounds, tight end, because of the quality of skill that's there for tight end. So for me, it's a pick up a guy, maybe second, third round tight end. And if you want to dip your toe in the free agency, then, you know, I'm all for it. You know, bringing in more tight ends, I am never going to refuse that, obviously. So I don't mind whatever stack the deck. I just don't think that, I think, kind of, not to say that they were burnt by the situation with Jonnu Smith, but looking at that, I don't think it's a good idea, I suppose, really, is probably what I should say. But so then it's like, you don't kind of want them to do it, is move on from, you know, a veteran tight end who is a good athlete, who, you know, had the quality there, and pay him a lot of money. They kind of, it was a bit of a phew, they've got out of his contract sort of thing. Why jump out of that kind of pan back into the fire of paying money for a, you know, a higher value free agent tight end, you know, that sort of thing, of a significant veteran? To go from that to that seems pointless. That seems a lateral move, that you haven't learned anything from sort of the mistakes you made with Jonnu Smith. Now, obviously, every player is different, so not every veteran is going to struggle the way that he unfortunately did. So, and granted, I fully understand that. But because of sort of what happened with that situation, because they threw so much money, you know, they were stuck for so much money, they've had to take a hit at the cap moving on. They managed to find, you know, a place to trade him across to, thanks Atlanta. But people were surprised that, you know, a trade was found. It was, that really should show you sort of the lack of confidence in Jonnu Smith really going forward, was the surprise that someone was willing to trade because of the dollar value was significant, and sort of the numbers weren't, if you see what I mean, as in his statistics, his, you know, what he produced kind of thing. So for me personally, as a tight end fan, yeah, okay, I just want tight ends, and that's fine. But I think, not to sort of repeat myself, but it's, the draft is such a quality that I kind of think that's your priority first. There's your draft picks, which are needed more. Your free agents, you're looking at sort of backups or depth or experience that's there to help that draft guy. That's very firmly what I'm thinking of at the moment.
Yeah, and I think you make a very good point. This type of a draft class does not come around that often. And I don't remember the last time I really was able to take a look at tight ends up and down the draft and look at names like Michael Mayer, obviously being the top consensus pick. I still think there's room for debate on that as well. But you look at guys like Luke Musgrave, like Darnell Washington, Dalton Kincaid, who we've talked about, Tucker Kraft, Sam Laporta. These guys have been like the flavor of the week here in New England for a little bit. Zach Kuntz of Old Dominion is really starting to make his move as well up the charts. So there's a lot of options that the Patriots can go with in the draft. And I think that finding a more fiscally responsible option, especially with, you know, maybe needing to allocate funds elsewhere for bigger needs on this team, whether it be contract extensions or bringing in new guys via trade or signing players on the open market, I think you make a very, very good argument for that. And I also like the argument that you made on Jonnu Smith. I will say, if there was a team that was going to dip their toe into his pool and try to get him via trade and make sure that he didn't hit the open market or that he wasn't someone that was a victim of a roster cut, it was the Atlanta Falcons. There's a connection there with Arthur Smith. He was his tight ends coach in Tennessee. Two of them worked very well together. I like Jonnu coming in and being paired with a guy like Kyle Pitts, as opposed to maybe a little bit of contrasting styles in New England's offense. So good fit for Jonnu and the Atlanta Falcons. I think he'll do well there. But this was a move the Patriots had to make, and I think they made it with the future in mind. And because the Countess has regaled us with visions of tight end draft picks in our heads, I still say that they will at least kick the tires on some available free agents. And we're going to discuss who those free agents might be and where the Patriots might go to find them when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues. But first, folks, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Ultimate Pro Football GM. If you've ever dreamed of being a GM, and folks, what better week to dream of being a general manager than the week that is right now in professional football, you have to absolutely check this game out. You've got to give it a try. Not as easy as you think it is to create a dynasty. I know there's a lot of armchair general managers right now that think that they can create the perfect team that's going to win and compete. Trust me, folks, it's not that easy. And when you play Ultimate Football GM, you're not only going to see the difficulty, but you're going to have a lot of fun doing it. You can control and manage every strategic aspect of your team as you play through the seasons and lead your team to glory by building a historic dynasty. With Ultimate Football GM, you're responsible for controlling the destiny of your franchise by hiring the right coaches, the right coordinators, managing all of the finances, including negotiating player salaries, terms, navigating your franchise through free agency, the draft, player personnel issues, all the ups and downs of a season. And you can do this all in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Football GM is completely free and it's playable offline, so you can play on the go as you want when you want to. Locked On Patriots listeners, listen up, because you can get a 100% free boost to your franchise when using the promo code Locked On. Find it in the game store in all caps. That's Locked On in all caps. So make sure to check it out today. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the app stores. That's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty today. Patriots fans, the illustrious Clare ClazzyClare Cooper, host of A Clare Perspective, a Patriots podcast, and also columnist extraordinaire for Pat's Propaganda, joining me here today on the pod, talking a little tight endage for the New England Patriots and maybe a priority shift for the Pats in the wake of the trade of Jonnu Smith to the Atlanta Falcons. Countess, in the previous segment, we talked about the Patriots being wise to check out the draft to try to fill the hole left behind by Jonnu Smith. But you know as well as I that Bill Belichick loves him some veteran talent on his team. Usually likes those guys around as mentors, maybe 1 or 2 years to try to bring things along until the new kids are ready. And you have to think that with Jonnu Smith gone now and only Scotty Washington and Matt Sokol on the depth chart behind Hunter Henry, that there is at least a veteran name he's thinking about looking at or bringing in. A lot of tight ends still available at the time we're recording this, 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday, March 15th on the East Coast of the U.S. Not many tight endage dominoes have fallen. Dalton Schultz is still, I think, probably the top option. He's still out there of the Dallas Cowboys. Mike Gesicki, we know him from the Miami Dolphins. But of those guys at the top of the list, there's always guys in the middle of the list too. I leave it to you, Countess. When you look at the free agent pool, if the Patriots do dip their toe into this free agent pool of tight ends, where are they going to go? Who do you have your sharp eye on?
Well, there's a reasonable list, as you sort of alluded to, in regards to free agent tight ends. And yeah, the top ones, Dalton Schultz of the Cowboys, Mike Gesicki of the Finns. Then you move into the sort of not the next tier, but almost. And I mean, there was Hayden Hurst of the Bengals on the list until probably about 5 minutes before we started recording this. And then I understand that Hayden Hurst has been sent to the Panthers. So that's one name off the list. So, not him anymore. There's Austin Hooper of the Titans, of Smith of the Vikings, Jordan Akins. Now, Akins, sorry. He's with him, there's a connection because he's a former tight end of Bill O'Brien. So there's that kind of link there. He's a considerable veteran as he's 31. See, for me, it just feels like maybe he's just a little bit too old. And I know how we bandy these, these ages about, this guy's 31, so he's old, and it's just so ridiculous. He's had some solid production kind of as a rotational tight end, and I just don't know. He was one that sort of stood out for me because of that link, because of that Bill O'Brien link. I'm just not too certain on him. The name that has got me kind of like, oh, if we're going to get a free agent, I think I might want this one, is Foster Moreau from the Raiders. Now, the Raiders, as he's very kind of well known by now, has kind of done a crazy trade with the Giants, and Waller has gone to the Giants, and it's like, what? For something like, it was a pick. Was it something like a 6th round pick or something? I can't quite remember now. I haven't got that in front of me. But Waller's gone to the Giants, so the Raiders need a tight end. Now, you could argue that the Raiders have got a tight end gap. So would Moreau move up to sort of tight end 1? So are they going to snap him up? There is that risk of that, of course. But it could be a case of, are they sort of clearing out the cupboard a little bit? They've got some serious dynamic wide receivers. They've just stocked up with Jacoby Myers from the Patriots. So are they looking at maybe going into a slightly different direction when it comes to their tight ends? And would Moreau sort of not tick the box anymore? So, would they look at moving on from him? Obviously, we don't know. As you said, as we record this at the moment, he's a free agent. So that's it. But I had a little bit of a deep dive into tight ends, which I usually do anyway. It doesn't take much to ask me to look into sort of, what's going on with the tight endage world, Claire. It really, it doesn't take much, does it? And there's notes and there's sticky Post-it notes and everything like this. So I'm going to jump back to Moreau because I did want to touch on Dalton Schultz because, he's got to be number 1 on your tight end free agency list because, I mean, he's a predominantly an inline tight end. I hate to say it, when you look at his stats and stuff, he's kind of a little bit better than Hunter. He's kind of like a Hunter Henry, but a bit better, which is awful because I absolutely love Hunter Henry. So he's definitely kind of the quality tight end up there. He's got solid numbers, even though he had that PCL injury. I think he's the top wide receiver, the top tight end that's kind of out there on the free agency market. So I just think he's going to be outpriced from the Patriots. I just don't think that that's the way that they need to go. Now, if they're not looking at the draft, maybe he is the way that they need to go because, he's a good producer sort of thing. But for me, I think with the draft class, as we said before, it's so stacked, and now they've made that space. I don't think that they're going to put such a veteran in the place. I think it is the draft. So when you're looking at the free agency, when you're looking at the veteran list, Moreau, for me, I don't know, something really stood out. I mean, he's only 26, so he's still got youth on his side because 31's like well old now. Yeah, really. Last year he had 33 catches for 420 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was behind Waller at that point. So bearing in mind that this guy was picking up the scraps when it comes to tight endage because he was behind such a number 1 tight end. So his production value isn't going to be as high because he was like a number 2 and that. He offers a little in sort of Patriots experience because he's had that 1 year under McDaniels. He might have sort of just elements of sort of knowing the way that the Patriots work if McDaniels has sort of taken his style with him. Now, it's kind of, that's a bit of a sort of if, buts and candy and nuts kind of thing. And you're making it like a really loose connection now. But there's this chance of this little bit of kind of thing, which could maybe give him the edge in regards to that. PFF gave him a really sort of a miserable run block grade for 2022 because that really wasn't his strength. However, he didn't surrender a single pressure as per PFF, thanks Judas. And he converted 70% of his catches into touchdowns or first downs. Now, for that, the production is quite good. So with his age, there's a chance because he is one of the younger tight ends over on the free agency. So he is one of the guys that you're looking at maybe keeping for that little bit longer because he's got youth on his side. He may warrant maybe too high a price tag that the Patriots really need to pay, simply because there's big needs that they need to pay for, when it comes to tackle, wide receiver and cornerback. So I know that there's a draft to look forward to and I can't wait. I'm just like, just bring me the draft right now. I'm so excited. It's just it's untrue at the moment. But however, we'll curb the excitement because we're on to free agency, folks. So yeah, I just think that the Patriots do have a lot of needs, and there's only so much money that you can spread around, and that's why I haven't even really kind of address the idea of Dalton Schultz, because it's too much money for something that isn't such a big need. If they're going to throw that sort of money, I think it's going to be at a wide receiver more than it's going to be at a tight end in free agency. I think the draft, as we've said, is a different matter entirely. So for me, it is the sort of the lower level, or I hate the terms that we kind of tend to use for these guys, but the sort of the lower down the list guys is something that the Patriots are going to look at. So I believe anyway. So if you're thinking of the Patriots needing a tight end, which I wouldn't disagree with you, agree that they could do with a veteran. It's just he's not going to be sparkly. He's not going to be a big numbers guy. He's not going to be they signed because people want the big numbers, they want the significance, right. And they don't need that out of free agency at tight end right now, because I think because of the way that the draft is stacked. Was it a different year, we'd be having a completely different conversation. So yeah, there's definitely some names out there when it comes to free agency. Price tag is really going to, of course, obviously, stating the obvious, really. Price tag is going to depend. But, there's a few guys that if they want to dip their toe in the pool, even, there's definitely some. And for me, I think looking at the list as I did and having a look over and having a look at the highs and lows and that sort of thing, Foster Moreau, he's Claire's pick, shall we say, for the free agency tight endage if the price is right.
That's good. I like that. If the price is right. And that really, I think, is what this all comes down to, because we can talk all day about high-priced free agents and free agents that we'd love to see come here. Kind of went through this a little bit yesterday here on the pod when I talked about Austin Eckler and the fact that the Patriots may dip their toe into the trade market for him. All well and good. He'd be a tremendous logistical fit, and I love Austin's game. But again, it comes down to money. Are they going to be able to work out the long-term extension with Austin that he's going to want, bumping up his salary from where it is at $6.25 right now per million a year, $1 million per year. Sorry, folks. Or are they going to, bump that up to where he's going to be wanting maybe $15 million a year? That's a big jump in order to be able to sign an extension. So with someone like Schultz, I think he's going to be priced out of their market. Love the player without any combination.
If he's not in it for the money, sorry to talk over you. If he's not in it for the money, then I'm all for it. I mean, how can you not? If he's like, I want to come and play with Bill Belichick, come on down, Mr. Schultz. We will happily have you. But yeah,
absolutely,
money talks, doesn't it?
Without question. And the other team that is rumored to be heavily involved in possibly looking for Dalton's services is the Chargers. And that actually makes a lot of sense. Now you've got Kellen Moore over there coordinating and doing what he does for the Los Angeles Chargers. So this is going to be interesting. That was his, that was his coach last year with the Dallas Cowboys. So going to be very, very interesting to see how that works out. But I agree with you. I think Schultz is going to be a little bit too high priced. Hurst obviously is off the board as we're talking. Austin Hooper still available. Austin is some guy that I had my eye on last time he was a free agent. Being a Jaws fan, I would just love the fact that they'd have a guy named Hooper on the roster, just so I could yell Hooper at and just see what the reactions would be. As I'm removed from Patriots training camp for doing so. No, I'm only kidding, folks. Can't do that in the media tent. You have to have a whole lot of respect there, and I promise I wouldn't do it. Under my breath, maybe, but not to make a scene.
See, I bypassed Hooper because of the. Sorry, interrupt. I bypassed Hooper just because I think I was just too. Because Smith came from the Titans, it was like, let's not do that. No offense. Let's not go there again. Let's just not repeat ourselves 2 years later. A big contract. Nope. On a Titans tight end who I couldn't do it. It was like, whoa, no, I went Raiders, unfortunately.
It's understandable. A guy that I would keep an eye on, and I don't know if he is going to be priced out because I think there will be teams that will pay based on potential. Irv Smith of the Minnesota Vikings did not put up the type of numbers he was expected to when he was drafted, but his biggest problem, staying healthy. If he can prove that he's past his health issues and he can get on the field, I like him, and I liked him coming out of college when he was a draftee. I really like him as being a tight end that can do something for a team, maybe the New England Patriots this time around. But I do agree with you. I think if the Patriots are going to upgrade this position and they're going to spend or invest time into grooming someone that can be their tight end of the future, I think they do it via the draft, and this is definitely the draft to do it, and there are plenty options out there. Countess, what can I say? You always lend your wisdom and counsel the way only you can. You've talked us off the ledge in terms of tight-ended troubles, and you've automatically let us know that all is well in Patriots Nation. There's no need to panic. Everybody's doing enough panicking on every other position. Tight-ended, Patriots have that pretty well in hand, and I think you've nailed it as usual. Before I let you go today, please let everyone know, all our adoring public, where they can interact with you, where they can reach out to you, and what you have coming from the great pen and the great voice of Clare ClazzyClare Cooper.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just trying to think what I've just recently done. Yeah, Pat's Propaganda. There's usually some stuff over there. I think my combine. Yeah, I think a combine update was the most recent. Haven't hit free agency yet because obviously it's only just starting. So yeah, definitely check out patspropaganda.com occasionally, and you will find obviously my written work. Come the season, there will be a lot more content, and we're looking at doing some new stuff over there anyway. So as for me on One Patriots Place with Thomas Murphy, as you know, a friend of the show, shall we say, from E2G Sports Network. That's there for you each and every Tuesday. So you'll find me there talking about whatever's going on at the time at that week. But my own show, A Clare Perspective, I started it in the off season, as I said, 2 years ago now, and I have continued to stay in the off season. It's slightly less regular during the off season, but I will be here for you during the off season. My next show should be out. I'm thinking that there was one last week with Fitzy, which was hilarious, and it doesn't really kind of necessarily cover anything sort of technically sort of time sensitive. So do go back and check that out because the guy is crazy. I get a face ache every time he's on the show. It's amazing. So much fun. So please go and check out A Clare Perspective from Full Press Coverage. Pretty much everywhere you get your podcast. But yeah, I should be back probably next week with something else, with some more guests. So please don't sleep on ACP. I will be around. It's just a little less during the off season because there's less to report, isn't there? Right.
No,
and find me on Twitter at ClazzyClare.
Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely.
Don't we know it?
Definitely follow Claire no matter what she does. Pen to paper, voice to microphone, keyboard to tweet, fingers to tweet, whatever. She always does a great job. So be sure to check out all the great work that she does. Folks, we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend with us here on Locked On Patriots this week. It's a busy week, a lot of coverage out there, and a lot of NFL options for you to find yours. If you are choosing Locked On Patriots to get your Patriots information, from the bottom of my heart, I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. Continue to support, and we'll continue to bring you the best content we possibly can here on Locked On Patriots. If you've made us your first listen, please, I implore you, make your second listen. Our good friends over at Locked On NFL Draft. My new colleagues, Keith Sanchez and Damian Parson, are doing an absolutely amazing job keeping you updated on all the comings and goings when it comes to draft speculation, when it comes to draft board fluctuation, and when it comes to mocks and breaking down the great prospects that are coming up here in the 2023 NFL Draft. These guys do it better than anybody, so check them out and be sure to follow, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, don't forget to download, subscribe to, follow wherever you get your podcasts for Locked On Patriots as well. On behalf of the illustrious Clare ClazzyClare Cooper, I'm Mike Debate. Please, folks, continue to stay safe, stay well, be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow here on Locked On Patriots.